Hello, my name is Dan DeShares, and I'm the state interpreter for high school baseball. I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 MPA Coaches and State Interpreters Baseball Rules Clinic. It's really in four parts. One, we're going to talk about the basic important rules in the bulletin, and then we're going to talk about the new rules in 20 and 21 and 22. And then we're going to talk about the points of emphasis that the National Federation wants us to make sure that the umpires and coaches know. And then we'll get down to some problem situations. By that, I mean situations where coaches and umpires, plays that come up, like hit by pitches and stuff like that, so that the coaches know what umpires are looking for, and so that the umpires also know what to look for. So we'll start with the MPA bulletin. A few of the key points in there, we want to make sure that you know that if there's thunder or lightning, we have to wait 30 minutes from the last sight or sound of thunder and lightning. And if we get to 29 minutes and we hear it or see it again, we have to start over at 0 and wait 30 more minutes. And this is a good point because it's really, if you're in a practice or something like that, that's a guideline that I would imagine that your athletic directors would want you to consider also. Next topic would be COVID-19 protocols, and right now we don't see that there will be any differences or anything that we have to go by for COVID-19, which means the home plate umpire is now going to be working behind the catcher, and that's a very exciting thing for us to get to. Catcher's mask extensions. If you have a routine hockey-style mask, that mask in itself is legal. But if you have the old style mask, you have to have a extension, a plastic or metal extension that goes on that. And that's not a federation rule. That is a baseball committee rule. I'd like to talk about the 10-run rule. At the varsity level, we allow coaches to waive it at home plate if both coaches agree. If they disagree, then the 10-run rule is in effect. For sub-varsity level games in middle school, the 10-run rule is in effect. Now, high school, the varsity level, we know that it's 4.5 or 5 innings, depending who has the lead at the varsity level. At the sub-varsity level, we have added an extra inning to that. So it would be 5.5 and 6 innings would be the inning where the game would end after 10 runs. Baseballs. We want to make sure that every baseball has to have the stamp NOCSEA, N-O-C-S-E-A. At the high school level, any level, varsity, JV, and freshman, that stamp must be on the ball to be able to play that game. We are told by federation rules, baseball committee rules, that if it does not have that, we cannot play the game. That is a safety issue. NOCSEA actually tests the baseballs to see how fast they take off the baseball bat. So that's why that standard is in effect now. It used to be NFHS had to be on it, but that is not the case because NFHS does not test they do not do any test on equipment. In high school, there is no protest allowed in baseball games. So if there's a situation comes up where you think that a rule is misinterpreted, then we have to decide that at that time by the umpires and coaches getting together, and the head umpire, the home plate umpire, will make the final decision on any rule situation that comes up. Pitch count. The Maine Principals Association is recommending the Game Changer is used by all schools in the state of Maine. They want to get on a consistent program so that everybody knows where they can find out how many pitches a pitcher threw, and they can find out what any team has used or any pitcher. We want to make sure that you know that if there's a balk on the pitch or an illegal pitch and the pitcher follows through and the balk is called, that is not counted as a pitch. And you should hear the home plate umpire stating to both dugouts, do not count that pitch as a pitch for the pitch count rule. Sportsmanship. We will probably talk about that a little bit later, but we have got the umpires now, and this actually went in the Federation rulebook when I was in the baseball committee 3-4 years ago. So I was a part of this being implemented. But sportsmanship, we're looking for warn, restrict, and eject. So how that's going to work is, and umpires have all heard this and been taught what should happen in this case. So, for example, the first pitch of the game comes in and a coach does not like what I called that pitch, and he starts to give me his opinion from the dugout. The first option would be, Coach, that's enough for today. That's a unofficial warning. It's a verbal warning, and there are no penalties for that. The second time that happens, now this is when the official warning comes in, and you'll see the umpire take his lineup card out, just hold it in the air. That means that now it's an official warning. It has gone in on the lineup card as an official warning, but that does now restrict the coach to the dugout for the remainder of the game. And he may not come out under any circumstances to discuss any calls. He may not address umpires. This is put in so that the coach is still with his team and can supervise his team. He can make all decisions in the dugout, but he cannot come onto the field unless he is called onto the field by the umpire because of an injury or illness to one of his players. Next, now we hear something else coming from the dugout, and the coach has been restricted. He comes out of the dugout. Now it's an automatic ejection. So we went from warn to restrict to eject. It's important that we know that the umpires and coaches know it. What this does, it gives more consistency to the. If you have 250 umpires around the state, it gives them a guideline to go by where they're more likely to be on the same page, and coaches will see the same if they're playing down in Kittery or if they're playing in Fort Kent, Maine. Regional and state game umpire selection. It is back in the coach's hands. Coaches' votes are going to be a very important part of the umpires that are selected to work the regional championships and state championship games. So that will be, they will have about 50% say. And also the ratings from the board. So the boards will send in their ratings so that we know who the top umpire, the second top umpire is on each board, and we can help use those also along with the coach votes to select the umpires that are going to be working the regional state championship games. So we strongly encourage coaches to vote when that time comes around. The next part of the presentation is going to be the new rules, and we just wanted to refresh you on the new rules in 2021 just to tell you what they are. The NOCSY stamp seal has got to be on all catchers' masks, helmets. It's got to be in the catcher's chest protector now. That was new last year. And also every baseball. That came into effect last year, and the baseballs, this is the third year that that's been in place. Pitching positions, this was 2021 also. They talked about the pivot foot and the free foot and where they should be. And the biggest part of that is the pivot foot working from the set has got to be parallel to the pitcher's rubber. Designated hitter. They added the new designated hitter rule which is much like the college one, where if Dan DeShares is a fairly good hitter and he's pitching today, I can be listed as two positions. I can be listed as a pitcher and I can be listed as a designated hitter. And now if a new pitcher comes in for me, then he can come in and pitch and I can continue on in the game as a designated hitter. But we've already gone over that rule, so I'm not going to cover it specifically. But we also use the old designated hitter rule where Smith is hitting for Jones and one person's a DH and one is playing out in the field. And now the one new rule for 2022, and it doesn't really affect the game, but the new rule states that the pitcher must take his sign from the catcher or simulate taking the sign from his catcher while on the rubber. The rule always has been that the pitcher must be standing on the rubber and taking the signs from the catcher with the baseball in his hand or the glove. It's always said that. But now with coaches sometimes giving signals to the pitcher as to what should be thrown, they're allowing the pitcher to take a look in at the coach, get the sign. Now he has to step on the rubber and he has to simulate from the catcher that he is taking a sign from him with no movement. So I can't be starting my pitch. Once I look in like I've taken the sign from the catcher, now I can come set. Now I can deliver a pitch from the windup. What that allows is, what it prevents is it prevents a quick pitch. So me getting the sign from the coach, stepping on the rubber, going in and delivering. I've got to take a look at the catcher so that the runner knows, okay, we're getting ready to do something here. Points of emphasis. Monitoring excessive behavior. As umpires, we watch for things that happen. Excessive celebration, especially after a home run, we just want to make sure that because the ball is dead, the players can come out of the dugout, but we ask that they stay off the dirt area so that the umpire can see the touching of home plate, and it keeps the players away from the catcher and stuff like that. So just keep your players off the dirt. And the umpire, you should be hearing them say, fellas, off the dirt. Sitting on buckets and chairs outside the bench and dugout area. Federation has seen a big problem around the country. Number one, it's a safety issue. A line drive's coming off the bat and heading towards the dugout. Number two, that has stopped a baseball from going out of play around the country a few times. So it has become a problem across the country. So it has been in the rule book for a couple of years, and it has been a point of emphasis, but umpires have been instructed not to start the game until all the buckets are inside the dugout. They have to be inside. There can be nothing left on the field. That includes chairs, anything that a player or a coach could be sitting on that is in the in-play area. And even if it's out of play, if there's an out of play line there because of equipment or whatever, there can't be a chair there where a coach or player is sitting on. Umpire procedure for lodged balls. They just wanted us to remind that this is a new rule put in effect last year or the year before. It used to be that if there was a ball, hard shot hit back to, for example, the pitcher or the second baseman, and the ball gets stuck in their glove, that it was lodged and we awarded 2 bases. Now, as you see in the major leagues every now and then, if that ball's lodged in the glove and he can't get it out, they can take their glove off. If the ball's stuck with it, they can throw the glove to first base, and you can get an out of that play. The ball remains alive. Sportsmanship. It always is a priority. It's always a point of emphasis. And as umpires, we look for signs. We look for the signs it's going to happen. We try to prevent it ahead of time. But I think one key thing that I always used to say as an athletic director, cheer positively for your team. That way if you're cheering positively for your team, you can't be doing anything wrong. You can be as loud as you want. You can be cheering as loud as you want. But once the comments start getting directed at the other team and other players, now that's when the umpire should interject and take care of that issue right off. The last part of this program is problem plays that happen during the course of the game. First one that comes up a lot of times is hit by pitch. The rule states that a batter must make an attempt to get out of the way if he can. That's what the rule says word for word, if he can. Now, if he can, what does that mean? That's an interpretation, and we've talked about this. Freezing in the box is not making an attempt to get out of the play. And we see it a lot with the sweeping curveball. The batter stays, gets hit, never moves. Well, with that sweeping curveball, by the time that ball gets to you, you've got time to back off an inch. That's all it takes. Make an attempt to back away from the pitch coming in. The best example I could say for probably where it says if you can. If you have a right-handed pitcher and a right-handed batter, sometimes they throw that riding fastball that's riding in on you, and it's near the plate when it's coming, then it keeps riding in and it hits you, and you just don't have an opportunity to get out of the way. Or the ball's coming directly at your ribs, and if you go forward, you're going to get hit. If you're going to go backward, you're going to get hit. And same thing with the left-handed pitcher to a left-handed batter. So that's what the umpires are looking for. Did the batter make an attempt to back off away from the pitch? If the batter leans in at all, then the chances are that he's going to be kept in the box. or the pitch, once it hits them, is going to be called a ball or strike, depending where the pitch was. Pitcher's equipment. We run into this all the time. Pitcher's equipment. No jewelry, including wristbands, rubber bands, may be worn on either hand. So if your pitcher wears a rubber band, you might as well talk to him right off, because if the game's getting ready to start and he's got to take this off, take that off, now the pitcher's not ready to start that game. He was all ready, and now he's got to start taking care of equipment. So there can be nothing on either hand. Pitcher's sleeves have got to be the same length, which now tells us that wearing a neoprene sleeve is not legal, because he's going to have one long one and one short one. But what the rule book and the MPA bulletin does say, that if he can wear a sweatshirt underneath or a long sleeve shirt that goes down and covers that neoprene sleeve, as long as the other one goes down the same. So you can wear a long sleeve shirt underneath it if he has to wear a neoprene sleeve because you want to keep his arm warmer or whatever. So just have them wear a long sleeve shirt, and the neoprene sleeve can be worn underneath. The glove cannot have any white or gray in it in any way, shape, or form. So even if it has a diamond or a Wilson logo on it, if it's white, can't wear it. Got to change gloves. Or the simplest thing to do, take a black marker and black it out. But take care of that ahead of time. Who wants to be going looking for a magic marker before a baseball game, just as the pitcher's getting ready to start the game? The umpires have been instructed to look at that pitcher and take care of all business before they start the game. Equipment left on the field. First, I'm going to give you the penalty for equipment left, let's say at the top of the dugout or just before an out of play line, and the ball hits it and stays in play, or hits it and goes out of play. This is a penalty. The umpire can call an out, send back runners, or award any outs. It's all umpire judgment. So if it's your team that has runners running all over, the chances are this penalty is going to hurt the team that has violated the rule. So if the ball's going into the dugout and it's your runners, then they're probably going to be going back. Or if they thought the catcher had an opportunity to pick that ball up and get an out, the umpire could actually call an out. So it can't help you by having equipment left on the field. If the catcher leaves his gear out by the dugout, and now the other catcher comes over for a pop-up and trips on the chest protector and it's in play, there's an out. So it's not going to end up helping you. So have all the equipment taken care of before the game. We have instructed umpires to take the home plate umpire to take a look over. If he sees anything on the field before the buckets, baseballs on the field, don't start the game until everything's taken care of. Coach is requesting one umpire to check with his partner on a ruling. Going for help probably would be a simpler way to state that. What would be appropriate? A rules misinterpretation where you think an umpire has misinterpreted or misapplied a rule. A bobble to drop baseballs that an umpire might have not seen a bobbled ball. Pulled foot, the swipe tag at first base, that old play. Those are where you can go to the umpire. Go to the umpire that made the call. The umpire that made the call is going to let you know, yes, coach, I will, or no, coach, I can't. I saw the whole thing. And then we're going to go from there. So if the umpire is going to go for help, the coach will be instructed to go back to the dugout, and he can't come back out if the call is not reversed. But the coach will go into the dugout. Once the umpires see the coach inside the dugout, then they will discuss it, and then they will come up with the call, with the proper call. We want to get the call right. Check swings. High school rules, it states that the umpire does not have to go to his partner for help. So the catcher or coach may ask the home plate umpire, ask. Probably 90% of the time, if not more, the umpire will go down and ask his partner for help. And obviously, you can only do it if the umpire called it a ball. If the umpire called it a strike, they cannot go down and ask their partner for help. Inappropriate times for partners to go for help. A judgment call when none of the above was talked about. If safer out at second base, you won't go to your partner for help. He had a better angle. It won't happen. But coaches, when you're going to do it, make sure you go to the calling umpire if you're going to, the umpire who made the call, if you are going to go for help. If the umpire goes for help, coach returns to the dugout. Now, if that call is reversed, the other coach is probably going to want an explanation, and that is appropriate. The other coach can come out and say, what did you have? So now we can explain to that coach why we overturn the original call. The next situation that becomes problems is extending dugouts. Last year, it was allowed by the baseball committee and voted on that we could extend the dugouts towards home plate. We're back to the old rule, the rule in the rule book. So dugouts may not be extended. Chairs obviously can't be out towards the home plate side. If you need to extend your dugouts because they are small, they have to go from the end of the dugout towards the third base side and first base side. They got to go to the outfield, towards the outfield fence, and it's got to be parallel to the foul lines. And there should be an out-of-play line where those chairs or whatever that's going to be out there that's extending the dugout, so that we have an out-of-play line out there. But the dugouts have to be extended to the outfield. No longer can they be, this year, like last year, we cannot extend them towards home plate. Another situation that's been coming up just recently that has been noticed, that has been illegal, but the pitcher working from the stretch must always come to a stop. It does not matter if there are runners on base or not. In Federation rules only, it's the only level that this is true. But Federation rules, which are high school rules, if the pitcher's working from the set, which a lot of pitchers do with no one on base, if he doesn't come set when he comes up, it's an illegal pitch, and it would be a ball on the batter because there's no runners on base. If there's a runner on base, let's say there's a runner on third base and the pitcher wants to work from the windup, from the set, I'm sorry. If he's working from the set, when he comes up, he's got to come to a complete stop before he delivers that pitch, or it is a balk because there's runners on base. Couple things that I did want to mention, things that have come in. A pitcher's front foot, the free foot, coming out of the ground, once he's come set, as soon as it comes out of the ground, this is not a situation where a balk would be called as the foot is coming up out of the ground. It's where that foot goes from there that determines the pitcher's restrictions or if he's committed to pitch to the batter. So, for example, if a left-handed pitcher or a right-handed pitcher breaks a plane when they're coming back from the set, and he breaks a plane with a free foot, he's got two ways he can go. He can throw to second base, or he can throw to home plate. So those are the restrictions. It's where his foot goes from there. Left-handed pitcher, stepping towards the 45 when he's throwing to first base or home plate. We know that if he steps towards the home plate side, he's got to go to the batter. If he steps to the left side, he's got to throw to first base. So it's where your front foot goes and lands is going to determine which base you can throw to or deliver the pitch to the batter. And it doesn't matter what the count is. So, for example, if there's a runner on first and third, and the pitcher breaks the plane, and he wants to step to second base and throw to second base, if that runner's breaking, he can do that because that's one thing he can do when he breaks the plane. He can step to second base and throw. Second base is not unoccupied by the rule because he is stepping there to make a play on the runner from first base. Now, if that runner freezes and doesn't attempt to go to second base, now he's faking to an unoccupied base, and it would be a balk or throwing to an unoccupied base. But if that runner's breaking and the count does not matter, the rules don't change because the count changes. The other thing that was talked about is dugouts. extending them toward the field. If you have a dugout, they cannot be extended towards towards the foul lines. All right? So that you can put a line in front and chairs and buckets and stuff. That can't happen. If you want to put a line in front of the dugout because you want to kill, let's say, a 5-foot area in front of the dugout, maybe you got construction on the field, maybe it's too wet that day, or it's really muddy, and you want to put that area as a dead ball area and you mark it off, that is fine. But players and coaches cannot go into that area. They have to stay in the dugout. That concludes my presentation for the 2022 season. If you have any questions, you can reach me at any time. So I want to wish you a good season and hope to see you in the playoffs. Thank you.